at the outset, I must mention the person behind today's program and who is really great contributors when it comes to the ecosystem of RTI in the country, Professor Ashutosh Sharma. And especially when it comes to the National Innovation Foundation, I think sometimes it's always advantageous, more emphatically mentioned about an innovation all the way from the deep tech to the grassroots. And we also spoke about the real need of grassroots innovations and how the change can be brought to the nation. And along with him, Professor Ashutosh Sharma, who was then the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, we got one of the important milestone for the NIM, that is the Inspire Manak. And today we very proudly speak about it. And he is still guiding me, especially. And his vision is something really I always admire. And many times I say that he is a great magnet. He ensures that everybody who have a equal thought process should be always together. And in this TRIPS also he has brought that aspect with all of us. Now coming to the important part of the presentation, that how this grassroots innovations are going to bring the change, or rather, last 25 years of existence of National Innovation Foundation, how it is really trying to bring the change. To look into that, what is important to have a glance at where to the country like Bharat stands today. So nearly 35% of our population is largely living in the tier 1, tier 2, largely we can say the urban areas. But more than 65% of the population still lives in the what we call the countryside, the rural part of the India. And more precisely, if we look at within the 65% of the population, nearly 55% of the population still have their livelihood through the agriculture, and that is something that we really need to understand in the depth. So then where do the rest of the sector stands? And this is a small pie chart which gives the right to understand where the national scenario stands. In this also, if you look at almost close to half of the contributions in terms of the what you call the sectoral contribution, then again the agriculture is something which really comes up, and the rest of the services sector or rest of the sectors that we could see, they still have, but largely that we need to understand is the India is an agrarian country. Now looking into, though we look at the amount of population, the amount of livelihood generations are coming from agriculture, but where do it stand when it comes to the GDP value of the country? But this is a really sad picture. Only 17% of GDP comes from the agriculture, however, largely comes from the service sector. The point to realize and emphasize here, to understand what are the challenges by which we actually can increase the share here, because that is the need of ours. Then what are the challenges? I think these challenges are not new to each one of you. These are quite common kind of concerns. But I think what is important in understanding all that, whether it comes to the large amount of populations that we hold, when we look at the kind of land sharing that we look at, nearly 70% of our population, especially the rural population, has got only less than 1 hectare of the area for their generating their livelihood. So this is something that brings a lot of change, and that really leads to a lot of constraints as well. And over the period, we know that climate change is also one of the important factors that is really coming up, and we are really need to care for it. Of course, unemployment, migration that I just spoke about just a few minutes before. So these are the real challenges for all of us. Now, looking at all these challenges, I think what is more important here is to understand this particular aspect here. That we are the civilization, if you look at the history, the Indian civilization has a large, I would say the important history when it comes to the traditional knowledge holding, the abilities to understand the nature. Then if you largely look at, then the country like us, which was the knowledge in the diversity. And we see that India is such a beautifully placed location where you see that we fall in a tropical region, but we have got everything. We have ocean about 60 to 40 to 60% of the land is nearby. We have got Himalaya on the other side. We have got plenty of what we call as the topographical diversities. In addition to that, we also have a lot of what we call ethnicity. We also have a diversification of the populations, and of course that leads down to the variety of the what we call as the food taste. We have different attires. So that gives rise to understand that we have knowledge diversity. At the same time, we are also having a richness in terms of textile, pottery, metal, everything that we do. Similarly, I think it is no need for me to tell you that what the IIT is all about when it comes to the country like us. So we have a full richness of the knowledge, and that leads also to what we know that today, where the Ayush comes in. Similarly, in terms of agriculture, we were the one who used to have what we call as the multi-cropping. We were having the knowledge about which particular part of the year is good for what kind of crop to be grown, which particular season is good and all. In addition to that, we were the one who largely been utilizing the bio-various organic farming. We have been having that knowledge in the richness. Of course, when it comes to the water conservation, we all know different variety of methods and techniques that we hold, and obviously the livelihood and the knowledge in terms of the veterinary sciences. I think we are the one who has a really a different variety of the products when we look at the different kind of animals and knowledge about it. And in fact, even for their health also, we have a great traditional knowledge. So looking at all these important aspects here, what is important to highlight, especially when it comes to the National Innovation Foundation, because the TRIPS is really working in a very broad length and breadth, especially right from the deep tech to the what I was talking about the grassroots. So here you could see what National Innovation Foundation is doing. We are the ones who are working for those people, or those ones who have never gotten opportunities to showcase their knowledge, bring them into the mainstream. So right from the ideation that starts in the beginning, then we have different areas where we work. Agriculture, we have engineering, we have veterinary and human health. Then obviously we look for the novelty, we take the review on it, we take the decision whether that real innovation which is coming is the real innovation, is the novelty is there, is the original facts is there. Then subsequently we go for the verification and validation of such knowledge. And that's the reason any idea that comes to us and reaches to the final stage when we try to take the incubation aspect with us, then the time span is not less than a year. And once it's come to the incubation and coming to the final product, it's another long journey. So it's a point to emphasize here is that in every aspect that we ensure the knowledge that is coming from the society is well, not only documented, verified, validated, and then with the value additions we can bring. And today this is where we stand. I think where I am more important here, if you look at the bottom 5 graph, then you will realize nearly 70% of our knowledge is coming from the outstanding traditional knowledge. When it comes to the human health, when it comes to the veterinary science, and to a large extent about agriculture, you will realize that India is rich in the traditional knowledge. This is the reality, this is the real picture that I am trying to put in front of you. And that gives rise to have what we call as a confidence that provided we do a bit of kind of an time on that, we will be able to come out with the best products. I don't really want to go into the entire diagram here, but what I'm trying to emphasize here is to ensure that any kind of an idea or innovation or any kind of tools and techniques that reach to us, it's really passed through the large sections, ensuring the scientific validity where it stands, especially all other people who very cognizant with what we call as a TRL, technology readiness level. So when it comes to us, it stands somewhere in TRL 1 or 2, but with the intervention of science and technology, we try to bring them up to the TRL 7 or 6 and ensure that it comes out as a product at the end of the day. And that is where the market is really waiting for people to innovate. And that's all about the NIF. So I will try to bring some of the important innovations, which is, I mean, of course, I have many such examples, but I just brought in front of you where we have a country of 65% population living in the rural part of the country. And the innovators that I have tried to emphasize here, if you look at their background, this Mr. Dr.Arvind coming from Haryana, he was a simple rickshaw puller that in a city like Delhi, in Chandni Chowk. He was working on it and he realized the importance of what you call. He started when he received his technology, it was really at TRL 1. So he just came with the raw understanding that, okay, if I do this kind of a thing, perhaps it will be able to do the food processing part. So large amount of interventions by NIF's team get into, and we collaborate with the IITs and NITs and various S&D institutions, and this technology is in the market today. And now look at it in every sector, whatever you look at. I'm not going to read any of anything that you could see here, but today Dr.Arvind Kanpur is making the business not only in terms of what you call is the for the sake of his family, but he is able to give the employments to the and these are the 2,300 families that you could see. So simple intervention of such innovation or innovator leads down to so much of change in the society, and that is something that needs to understand that India has got a richness of this kind of technologies and knowledge. I've got another example. This is Mansukh Patel from Gujarat, who is a cotton scraper who developed this. When it came in 1998 to the NIF, it was a very crude, not much ideas about what kind of material to be used for this particular technology to be bring to the next level. And now you will realize this particular cotton scraper is got saturated in the entire textile industry. Today his turnover is around 100 crores per annum. That is something that we need to understand. It was a simple, what you call as not even an IIT pass. He was a 12 pass. He developed all this, and today you see that he really contributed to the society in terms of the drudgery reduction. Now, no women, no child is laborers are working for doing what you call the cotton segregations. So all that innovations are there. The third example, and this is about the Herman Sharma. He is the Padma Award winner of this year. And look at the change that he has brought. I mean, by and large, we all know the apple is the one which can grow only in a certain altitude regions and actually in the hilly region. But he has developed a variety which is called the HRM 99 apple variety. And he has not only demonstrated successfully that we could see that this kind of an apple are grown at nearly 40 to 45 degrees centigrade. And today we could look at NIF has helped him in various aspects, right from the chemical analysis of the and the nutritional value of this apple and all. Now what we see here, more than 40 lakh samples have been distributed across the country, and now today he is able to bring the change in the large amount of populations in terms of the livelihood generation and many things. And now this is the last example I am trying to show. This is another outstanding traditional knowledge example. We all know, those who are very familiar with the kind of problems that water animals go into, that is mustard. This is another innovator from Gujarat, Dr. Arvind, who has developed this. He has come up with this, and finally we brought this product into the market, and all that you could see, that is the change that we brought. This is another example of an tractor mounted soil load machine which you could see largely required, and it has got a fantastic utility and kind of innovations in the livelihood of the people. And this is the last slide just to tell you, because of the time constraint, just 15 minutes, I'm just trying to give you the picture of what we do when it comes to the what we call as the rural technology innovations coming from the grassroots. This is where we stand, and today we feel very proud that if not, but at least we are in positions to bring the change in the certain amount of society. And before I conclude, I really would like to admire Professor Ashutosh Sharma because he is a man in many of our initiatives that he has given not only the directions, he has actually came onto the field, he visited those and suggested a lot of changes, and we have been able to do the great work. So with this, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity